back. And real G's never switch up, never take the stand. A real G keeps it solid, never rolls with rats. I'm true to the code, homie, never looking back. And ain't no dirt up in my name, homie, those are facts. I keep it G, homie, I don't never have to act. Ain't nothing like the suckers on the net that's spitting gas. Boosting up their name for the fame is considered trash. You already knew on where I stand. With the homies posted in the viral daily packing strats. Boy, la vida loca, it be crazy in my habitat. Dead before dishonor is my code and ain't no turning back. Dead before dishonor is my code and ain't no turning back. Alright, and now working our way down to the San Fernando Valley, to my hometown of North Hollywood, and to a neighborhood that's actually close to my neighborhood. I actually know people from this neighborhood and so on and so on. There used to be tensions between our neighborhood, but as the years gone by, it seemed to mellowed out. You have the Boys from the Hood neighborhood right here, BFTH, right here in the San Fernando Valley, in North Hollywood. Their territory is what's from Valerio and all the way to Lauren Canyon all the way to Satakoy. So what's in the middle is considered their neighborhood, which would be Renamede and Radford Street. But their territory, their main dojo is on Hines and Valerio Street. That's their main domain. You know what I mean? That's why you see they have several cliques, but one of their most notable clique is the Hines Streets. That's the reason why. And unlike the ones from Anaheim that write sometimes they just put boys gang or just boys or whatever. Bush in the Hood over here, you don't see it done like that. You always see the BFTH or you'll see Hines Street, but they don't ever just write like just boys or whatever. But that's that BFTH, and like I said, they've been around this area right here since the 80s. Roughly have always been a more smaller gang. In the San Fernando Valley has always been pretty small neighborhood, because their territory is not that large, and with other gangs around the area like 18th Street being larger, and within that area, it just makes recruitment a lot more difficult. But don't ever get it twisted. I mean, these guys did have the writers and vatos that put it down for them, you know what I mean, and continue to do so because they're still active. They still have members that are right there representing, you know what I mean. Don't ever get it twisted. They be holding down their own. Like I said, they say that they're the originators and oldest one, but then the other ones say, so take what you want from that. But they are right here, located in North Hollywood, by Renamede, by Lauren Canyon, by Satakoy, by Valerio. So that's on Ben and Cavell Street, Renamede, Radford, Valerio, Hines, all of that is what's considered their neighborhood. You know what I mean? By the Jimmys and the Lancashire Swami. That's too close to where the BFTH neighborhood is right here in North Hollywood, and continue to represent theirs. You know what I mean? But that's what's up with that Boys in the Hood right here. Now making our way down to Orange County right here, Anaheim. Now Anaheim, although it's home to Disneyland and middle class homes, it's also a treacherous area where you can find gang activity. It be cracking right here. Anaheim being an area that's gang infested, full of a lot of neighborhoods and neighborhoods that are with the business, homie. I know people see it just because it's Anaheim and Disneyland's here. That is nothing but, like I said, homie, it's on and cracking right here. You have some of the most violent criminal organizations in these areas, and that comes from law enforcement records. You know what I mean? So they ain't playing over here. You know what I mean? It's on and cracking in Anaheim. And the reason why we're here is this is for the first doppelganger gang. You have Boys from the Hood, BFTH. We're the boys gang. BFTH is right here in Anaheim. It's one of the most notorious neighborhoods within Orange County, according to law enforcement. The reason why they had to put the gang injunction on them and hit them with all kinds of bills and motions and actions and all kinds of shit, due to the fact that their neighborhood is located close to a park where when it's a park they like to play that whole because children are around and stuff like that. It's treacherous because their neighborhood is the surrounding area Banderosa Park, so all the back streets of that area is what's known as the Boys from the Hood territory, which is Haster Street,
throughout Simmons and Sierras. So all of that is what's considered their neighborhood. So I would say that their neighborhood is from Manchester, and from Manchester I would say all the way to Orangewood. From Orangewood I would say all the way to Harbor Boulevard, and from Harbor Boulevard I would have to say to Wilkin Way. So everything that's in the middle is what's considered the Boys from the Hood's territory, which is a vast chunk of territory. You know, it is a large gang, with law enforcement saying that there's more than 400 members. So you know, it's pretty large in size. And like I said, notorious, homie. You know, these guys ain't playing, and they've been around in this area since the 80s. So it's not as old school as some of these other gangs right here in Orange County, but don't get it twisted. These guys, you know, have been kicking up dust and bringing it down. Now, I can't confirm which neighborhood came first, if it was this one or the other Boys from the Hood gang, because both say that it was them and both say that they're the original. So, you know, take what you want, you know, out of that. But they did both start roughly around the same time, and they have no relationship to each other and none of that. And like I said, both say that they're the first, so you know, it is what it is. But yeah, they started around the 80s and been dominating right here in this area and holding it down, you know what I mean? But that's what's up with the Boys from the Hoods neighborhood right here, holding it down in Orange County and putting that Anaheim up in the map for that boys gang. And now here in LA County, we have the city of Paramount. Paramount is the city located near Downey, Compton, you know, through those regions on that outskirts. It's a pretty big city. You know, it's a middle class area, but it is gang infested, you know, full of a lot of neighborhoods right here. And a lot of talent too, because a lot of talented individuals come from this area, like Swifty Blue, like Little Squirrel, and a few others. You know what I mean? That you guys need to peep out their music, because they definitely have talent. They get down in their music. And speaking of Little Squirrel, that's actually why we're here in Paramount. We're gonna be covering his neighborhood right here, which is the Varrio Dog Patch. The Varrio Dog Patch, Paramount Dog Patch. Now, Dog Patch is an old school neighborhood already dating back to the 40s, the 1940s. So yes, it's an old school neighborhood. This is where they originated from. You know, birthplace. And it is a well-known, well-respected, well-recognized neighborhood. You know what I mean? You know, despite how people want to view it, if it's their enemies or not, they cannot deny that they're old school, that they have riders, and that they actually do their thing. You know what I mean? You know, because you don't even build up that kind of animosity for absolutely no reason. You know what I mean? And I think it has to do because they've been around for so long that they were able to spread into a bunch of different locations. Because not just Paramount, but also like in areas like Downey, you know what I mean? Is also where you could find them. So you can find them Downey and in but Paramount is still their birthplace, you know what I mean? Their neighborhood stretches from what's Paramount Boulevard to Rosecrans, from Rosecrans to Paramount to Rosecrans, and from Rosecrans, I would have to say all the way to Lakewood Boulevard. So everything that's in the middle is what's considered their neighborhood. You know, so throughout the you know, on both sides of the freeway, through the All-American Park, you know, by those areas, also by you know, Downey Avenue, you know, which is crosses through their hood. You know, so throughout all those back ends and back streets is where you can find them. You know what I mean? It's a big chunk of territory that they run. And like I said, because it's a large neighborhood, probably the largest in Paramount, the most dominant one. You know, you hear about these guys. They give law enforcement a hard time. And these guys are the originator because they're the oldest one. They're older than the other Dog Patch neighborhood. You know, so these ones came first, like I said, going back to the 1940s. So I already have an extensive amount of history being in these areas. And like I said, these guys are, you know, no joke. They even have an oldie song after them because their barrio was around. People think that they named themselves after the oldie song, but in reality, this neighborhood was around before the oldie song even came out, so that's a fun fact. And like I said, they're the first. They have no ties. At least I was told they have no ties to the ones in Cucamonga. Like I said, is all the information I'm being told by homies from those neighborhoods. So you know what I mean. So if anybody has any bickering to go on, you know what I mean, you can take it on with them. But yeah, this is the original dog patch, representing out of Paramount and holding it down. And shout out to all the homies from Dog Patch and the ones in Downey and Paramount and Cucamonga and all of that. You know what I mean? But that's what's up with the Dog Patch neighborhood right there. Now, heading over here to the nice and beautiful city of Cucamonga. That's Rancho Cucamonga. Is located obviously in the Inland Empire. You know, most recognized for the scene in Next Friday when Uncle Elroy right here in Rancho Cucamonga. But even though they made it seem like it's all nice and everything like that, don't ever get it twisted. Rancho Cucamonga also be cracking, homie. You know, there is well-respected neighborhoods on this side, you know what I mean? Like the Cucamonga Kings. And man, hell, they even have crib sets and all of that over there. You know what I mean? But this is also home to the doppelganger gang, to the dog patch, which is the Cucamonga dog patch. So dog patch, this one you see it up. The other one you see Paramount or Downey, you know, dog patch or whatever, or you just see DP. The same with this one, you see it up either Cucamonga dog patch, so that's CDP or CUCA DP or just DP. You know what I mean? But mostly you see it CDP or CUCADP. That way there's no confusion with the other one, because like I said, it's just a coincidence that they happen to have the same abbreviation and same name, because they have no relationship with the other older dog patch. This one is not as old school as that dog patch. I was told that this one was around since the 60s, roughly around that I was told, and the other one has been around since the 40s, so you know, way longer before this dog patch, you know. And this dog patch, their neighborhood is what's Grove, and from Grove I would have to say all the way to West Foothill, and from West Foothill Boulevard to Baker's Avenue. From Baker's Avenue, I'm gonna have to say that it extends all the way to Main Street. Or 8th, you know, we'll say Baker and 8th, Grove, and to Foothill. So everything that's in the middle is considered their barrio, you know, throughout Edwin Street, Arrow Route, you know, all of that is what's considered their barrio, you know what I mean? Close to the Rancho Verde Village Apartments as well, San Bernardino Road, you know, all of that is what's considered their barrio. You know, it's a pretty, you know, decent chunk size of territory. Now these ones may not be as old school as the ones in Paramount, and not as deep, because obviously the other one is way larger. It's roughly more than like 700 heads. This one I was told that they're roughly about 150 heads, you know, roughly around there. Still, you know, decent amount, you know what I mean? But like I said, don't ever get it twisted. Just because they're not as large as old school as the other ones doesn't mean shit, homie. These fools get it on and cracking. They get it on and popping. Like I said, I honestly thought they were the same neighborhood. You know what I mean? Until I was told by older homies that it wasn't. You know, because even some of the younger homie from the hood had from the Cucamonga dog patch had told me they were the same. But like I said, you know, I do understand, because, you know, like even some of my youngsters don't know, you know, like, you know, the history on the hoods or whatever. You know, it does tend to happen. But the older cat, you know, said that they were different. So, you know, now I'm pretty sure they know of each other and probably like rep it the same. But yeah, they originally had no ties and no connections and none of that. So they were different hoods. So that's a fun fact, interesting. Even you know, me barely finding out all of this. But yeah, that's what's up with the Cucamonga dog patch right here, representing for them. And right here, still in the IE, right here in Riverside County, we have one of the neighborhoods that's doesn't get really talked about all that much. But it's located right here in Riverside. We have the Dark Side Rivas. That's that DSR, Dark Side Riva. Riva being obviously short for Riverside, just kind of like East Side Riva, West Side Riva, North Side Rivas, and Dark Side Riva, Riva for Riverside. And this neighborhood is not that old. And I don't know which one came first, because, you know, both of them say, you know, it was them. It's kind of like the Boys from the Hood thing. But what I could tell you is that they both roughly started around the 80s, late 80s. They were both crews. One was a tagging crew. This was a party crew. This one right here, Dark Side Riva, was a party crew that became a neighborhood. You know what I mean? So it was a party crew late 80s, early 90s when it made that transition, from party crew to neighborhood. And like I said, they were roughly just more of a smaller neighborhood because, their hood's not all that big in itself. You know what I mean? The territory is from Main Street to Spruce Street. And from Spruce Street, I would have to say they extended all the way to Mulberry Street. So what's First Street, what's Lemon Street, Lime Street. Lime Street being, the area which they hang out the most. That's why they even have a Lime Street clique. That's why you see Lime Street, Darkside Rivas, because that's like headquarters for them, home base, their dojo, and where they be getting on and popping. These guys ain't no chumps, you know what I mean? They definitely represent for theirs. And like I said, Darkside, I could see it being a common name that somebody would use on the simple fact that I remember like a few crews using the Darkside title. I heard of Darkside Riders, Darkside Kings, Darkside Locals. So I heard of different Darksides, you know what I mean? So, I could see why, two hoods would have, happen to, have the same, name with this one, you know what I mean? Especially around those times, and they had Star Wars, Dark Side, and they had that skating brand Dark Side. So I could see why, it could be influenced on two neighborhoods in two completely different areas to, name themselves the same thing. But yeah, that's what's up with the Dark Side Riva right here, representing for Riverside and, their domain right here, and continue to put theirs on the map. They're still active and holding it down. Okay, and as we make our way back down right here to the county of Orange, that's that Orange County right here in Santa Ana, by the Santa Ana River bed right here, we have the next of the Doppelganger neighborhood, the next of the Dark Sides. This is Dark Side Rifa. DSR. The other one is Dark Side Riva. This is Dark Side Rifa. Rifa obviously meaning, you rule, you control, in Spanish term for it, because I do sometimes get asked what does Rifa mean. Now, they, like I said in the past one of Dark Side, either side says that, they were the first, and then Riva says they were the first. So like I said, take that from what you want from it. But what I could tell you is that they both did roughly start around the late 80s, early 90s. One started off as a party crew, which was the Darkside Riva, and then this one was actually a tagging crew. Darkside, Kings, Crew, Killers, all of that, DSK, and then they dropped the K, replaced it with the R, Darkside Riva, Darkside Rifa. See, even I get confused. No, but the DSR neighborhood over here in Santa Ana is located on McFadden. McFadden, I would say it extends all the way to Edinger Avenue and all the way to Fairview Street. So everything that's in the middle, it's what's considered the Dark Side's neighborhood. Like I said, close to the Santa Ana River, the riverbed. Their neighborhood is close to the Windsor Park. So everything that has to do roughly around that area, roughly around the Andrew Jackson Elementary School, by the Shakey's as well, through Hood Avenue, through Mohawk Drive, through, through all of that, through all those back streets, is where you can find them, you know what I mean? Where they be established, where they be kicking it at. And doing their thing. And like I said, no connection to the other Dark Side. And you could picture it, like I said, it's just a common name, so you do see a common theme. There's even clicas from other varrios that are like Dark Side locals and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So it's not too out of the norm to hear a name for a neighborhood like this, where you're gonna have other hoods that also use that as their term. You know what I mean? But like I said, these neighborhoods roughly were a little bit more smaller than their surrounding counterparts. But don't ever get it twisted. Even though they were a tank crew, they were with the business, homie. Sullivan Street is, you know, their main domain, their dojo, you know, where they got it on in Kraken. You know, that was their domain. And continue to be so. You know what I mean? They continue to still represent. You know, these guys ain't no chumps. Like I said, I know there's some people that like to criticize and stuff like that. You know, because of the whole tagging crew, but that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? I had already made videos explaining that. But right here in this area is what's considered their barrio, where they be hanging out and doing their thing right there on Ligon Lane. Hey, and they're still putting theirs on the map. You know, these guys ain't no suckers. You know, and they continue to represent theirs for that dark side rifa, and you know, they still be holding it down.